What's at stake is bigger than Ben Makuch, bigger than his job. It's about the kind of news Canadians get.
I've had journalists come up to me and say, I've talked to this individual. Do you think that what happened to you is going to happen to me?
The journalist from Vice has been locked in a legal battle with the RCMP for years over this.
We are going for you, Barack Obama.
In 2014, Makuch used social media to track down ISIS member Farah Shirdon. The Calgary man infamously burned his Canadian passport in an ISIS video and threatened Canada. Not long after, the RCMP served Vice and Makuch, ordering them to hand over all correspondence with Shirdon. They refused.
What I had of national security interest, I always put out there. So, you know, I was informing the public of any danger that could come of this individual.
Vice has challenged the order in lower courts in Ontario and lost. The case is now being heard by the Supreme Court.
I'm there to provide an international perspective on this.
Paul Shabas is a lawyer representing several international NGOs tomorrow.
There still must be a balancing even then between the public interest in law enforcement and the public interest in protecting the press and protecting them and their ability to do their job.
The RCMP is trying to do theirs and protect Canadians. Lawyers representing the RCMP declined to be interviewed, instead pointed to its submission to the court. The police are seeking to obtain highly reliable evidence relating to serious terrorism offenses, which they cannot obtain from any other source, and are not required to go further and establish that the prosecutor will actually need that evidence to prove the case at trial, nor are they required to exhaust all other investigative avenues.
Journalists are not cops.
Being perceived so, says Robert Steiner of the Munk School of Global Affairs, could have widespread implications on the kind of information people should get in a free and open society.
If people stop speaking to journalists, then this fundamental part of the democratic system, this basic pipeline to understanding what's going on around us, starts to get shut down.
Already, Canada's ranking for press freedom isn't as high as many may assume. According to one index, Canada ranks 18th in the world.
It puts us behind countries like Portugal and Estonia.
The CBC is one of more than a dozen media outlets and organizations intervening in the case. As for Makuch, he's holding firm.
I'm prepared to take this as far as it needs to go.
If he loses and refuses to comply with the order, Makuch could face a fine or even go to jail. The Supreme Court's decision is expected to take months. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, you heard Natalie mention there that Canada ranks 18th in the World Press Freedom Index. Reporters Without Borders says the Vice case is just one of the reasons. Another, the civil and criminal charges laid against the Independent's Justin Brake for filming protesters as they trespassed onto the site of the Muskrat Falls hydroelectric project in Labrador. The index also cites Quebec's provincial police spying on journalists Patrick Lagacé of La Presse and 5 journalists with CBC's French network, Radio-Canada. Then there's Bill C-51, described as using national security as an excuse to chill the free flow of information. The countries ranked as top 3 were Norway, Sweden, and the Netherlands. France, the UK, and the US all ranked much lower than Canada.